Thanks for listening to Townsquare Sunday. The Christmas season means a lot of wonderful things, but as these gentlemen sitting with us today know, it can also result in tragedy if you're really not thinking about it and paying attention. My guest, the District Chief Scott Kruger of the New Bedford Fire Department, and Captain Sean Civil, the head of the Fire Prevention Bureau. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Every year, the State Fire Marshal puts out a list of safety measures to consider when it comes to the holidays. Now, he doesn't do it for fun. He does it because it's an issue around the holidays. And you really, if you pay attention to the news, I think you pretty much know that somewhere in Massachusetts, there's going to be a horrible fire around Christmas time. And generally, it involves home decorations or careless discarding of cigarettes around trees or other flammable objects. And it's just horrible, frankly, and that's why I thought we should get you guys in here to talk about it and to talk about not only how these things can be prevented, but also what you've seen in the past. So we'll start with Captain Kruger, District Chief Kruger. Every year these warnings come out. What's the number one safety hazard that both of you kind of get involved with or see around Christmas time?
Well, I think obviously Christmas time, there's more. I mean, there's some safety things that we'll talk about that apply all year round. Especially smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors are probably the most important thing. But I think the Christmas season is such a huge use of other electrical appliances. And when I say that, I mean extension cords, power strips, for lighting, interior and exterior. And when you have all of that extra electrical appliance use, you introduce a whole huge set of ignition factors into somebody's home, because when you have a fire, the first thing you have to have is an ignition source, and electricity is one of the most prevalent ignition sources in the propagation of fire that there is. So they expand exponentially, during the holiday season. So, you have all that, those other sources of fire, and people that, don't have working smoke detectors or working carbon monoxide detectors, you're really, ratcheting up your, the dangerousness level in not to be an alarmist, but, in your home,
And certainly we've seen some of that. I know that I just went to a fire. It turned out to be kind of an extensive fire on Sawyer Street. There was a lot of damage, and I'm not sure fire detectors were working in that house. It's just a shame when people kind of remember all this stuff for holidays, but they don't remember to change the batteries. It happens way too often. Sean Civil, I know you've seen it as well.
I haven't. First and foremost, we've got to make sure that we have working smoke detectors in your house. That's number one rule. Twice a year, check the batteries, make sure that they're up to date. People don't realize that smoke detectors actually expire. After 10 years, your battery-operated smoke detectors really become useless. You got to update those. Secondly, to caveat on what District Chief Kruger said, the extension cords. A lot of people don't know what daisy chaining is. Daisy chaining is when you plug one extension cord into another extension cord into another extension cord. And every time you do that, you create more resistance, which creates more heat, which creates that higher potential for fires. And, it's just electrical safety is, if you can't directly plug it into an outlet, don't just go grab that old school brown 2-wire extension cord and extend it out. That's what's going to cause the problems. That's what's going to unfortunately maybe ruin someone's Christmas.
So you've got to get some working, safe cords that are certified, and don't overload a particular receptacle. I mean, that's the thing here. Christmas trees, Chief Kruger, they are a beautiful thing around the holidays. I think most of us say, gee, that kind of makes your home around the holiday. But if they're not taken care of, watered, etc. First of all, you should bring in a fresh tree. I guess that's something I read from the State Fire Marshal's tips. But beyond that, you've got to take care of your tree.
Right, yeah, you have to make sure, if you have a live tree in your home, you have to make sure that you water it. You have to keep it watered every day. You know, the trees are still going to be, you know, taking in water to stay fresh and green. You don't want the needles falling off that thing a week before Christmas. You know, you want to keep that thing, you want to keep your tree, you know, looking good, you know, to get you through the new year. And one way to do that, and of course it's the safest thing to do, is to put water in it. You know, make sure you have a good stand that's the right size. If you have a large tree, make sure you have a large stand. You don't want that tree tipping over and falling on one of your children. Or we all know, we've seen plenty of videos of dogs and cats going and knocking over trees as well. And if you have candles nearby or something that's lit, that can spell disaster. You can have a fire, you know, from that. And also with the, you know, just to expand a little bit on what the Cap and yourself has said about the extension cords, if you're going to use an extension cord, or if you're going to use the power strip is the big thing. And we have so many fires that are caused by overloaded power strips. If you're going to go out and buy a power strip, buy one that's UL listed. You know, that's actually been inspected. You know, when you go to a lot of these closeout stores, you see power strip $2.99, $3.99. You're kind of getting what you pay for. You know, you want to make sure, if you're going to entrust your safety in your home, you want to make sure you have a power strip that's actually been, you know, that's actually UL listed. You know, and you know, and don't, you know, plug it. You're going to plug extension cords into that, obviously, and then don't go and plug extension cords into the extension cords that will plug. We see that all the time. And the other thing people do too that causes a lot of fires, and the Cap, you know, can attest to it too, is that people will take these cords, they don't want to see them, they tuck them under carpets and they tuck them under rugs and they curl them all up. And that all creates heat, and it creates resistance when you have that draw, especially on the power strip. You know, you don't cover a power strip up with, you're really, really asking for, you know, you're asking for problems. And I know when we were kids, we used those big C9 Christmas bulbs, the big, huge ones, and they put out a lot of heat, you know, and they would really dry out a tree. Fortunately, the LED lights don't, you know, really put out, they use less energy and they put out less heat, which so it makes them safer. But with that being said, you know, you should still make sure you take care of your tree. And you shouldn't be having, and I don't want to open up a, you know, can of worms on this, but, you know, if you shouldn't be using places of assembly, you know, should not be having, you know, if they're going to have Christmas decorations, they should really have, you know, artificial trees. You shouldn't be using, it's really not in the code to use you know, live cut trees in establishments like places of assembly.
Sean Civil, so you've seen some of what the chief is talking about here?
Oh, absolutely.
In New Bedford?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've, unfortunately, we've had quite a few fires just in the past year, due to overloaded circuits, overloaded extension cords. And another big one that people don't really realize that can cause a fire is your phone chargers. Phone chargers produce an enormous amount of heat. And, you know, we have a lot of people that put their phone chargers right on their beds or tucked in between the mattresses or underneath their pillows because they don't want to be that far away from their phone. And those things produce an enormous amount of heat. Just go up to any phone charger, put your hand on it while it's charging, and you can feel the heat. And then it's trapped between blankets and sheets and pillows and bodies, and it produces heat. So, you know, something to be aware of, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, these are all important little reminders. You know, it's not good to brush off some of these things or say, oh, it won't happen here. Or, no, nothing happened last year, I'm going to do it the same way. No. You've really got to be careful when it comes to electricity and heat that may be generated by bulbs. LED lights are safer, clearly, but you just never know about some of this stuff. Shut your tree off when you go to bed at night. All these little things really make sense. I want to talk about candles for a bit because I'm now convinced that nobody should be using candles. Now,
don't say that to the candle mate.
I know. I say that, knowing, of course, that there are many places that still use candles, many homes. Is that right, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, candles are a large source of our causes of our accidental fires are going to be is unsafe candle use. You know, the candle, you know, burns down, you know, and the wax melts, and you get. You have combustible objects that are too close to that candle. They ignite. The big thing is that they get knocked over by kids, not only kids, but pets. You know, even if it's up on, you know, higher up on a table or a dresser or, you know, whatever, they can still, if you have a cat or whatever, they can still get knocked over and cause fires. And so the kids have a lot of curiosity, still with candles, and everybody likes them. The atmosphere they bring it. Definitely around the holidays, you have a table arrangement. You're gonna have, what do you do when you have candles and when you light those candles? That table arrangement gets dried out. Those candles, burn down. You can have, you can definitely have a fire that's caused by, by the can. People put candles on their nightstands, as well. They put them, they pretty much put them anywhere. So you have to remember to blow that candle out. Put the lid on it when you leave. And you have to just be careful about it.
I can imagine when you go into a home or a place of business, or the hair on the back of your neck must go up when you see a candle.
Well, yeah, yes and no. A lot of times it's the placement of that candle and where people put them. Not that there's really any true safe place, but a candle inside of a glass jar that someone can easily manage and properly use. That's not that bad as walking into a home where their entire space heater is covered with candles in the decoration.
Yeah, right.
People don't realize that paraffin wax does burn, and it can cause a lot of problems. And just to give some numbers, not just on candles, but in general, structure fires alone in Massachusetts, we've had over 32,000 in 2017. There's 312 communities. That's an average of about 87 fires per community. Obviously, the larger communities may have more, and the small communities less, due to population. But with that, in 2017, we had 44 fatalities. Here in New Bedford, in 2018, we've already had 3 fatalities due to structure fires. So it's fire safety is a huge thing, and people really have to be aware of what they're doing.
I guess my feeling is there's so many substitutes for candles that can be used. All kinds of substitutes available that can be used to bring light in situations. But like when power goes out, people reach for candles. It just gives me the shakes. It's a dangerous situation.
I don't even understand why people reach for candles anymore. I mean,
yeah,
there's so many LED flashlights, lanterns that produce way more power, way more light, and they're readily available and pretty inexpensive to purchase. I mean, you can buy a decent flashlight for $2-3. And honestly, in my house, I don't think we have a single candle. And we have the battery-operated ones. You got LEDs. They kind of give the same ambiance, but a lot safer.
Yeah, I ban them in my house. You're listening to Town Square Sunday. My guest, District Chief Scott Kruger and Captain Sean Civil of the New Bedford Fire Department. What about outdoor decorations, District Chief? Are there some issues there with outdoor decorations?
Right. I mean, you should only be using lighting and equipment that's rated to be outside, to be exposed to the elements. Obviously, rain, snow. You don't want to use interior things that are only rated for interior use on the outside. That's, they're not grounded the same. They don't have the same insulative or properties as. So basically, whenever you're using anything, you should always follow the manufacturer's recommendations on any given piece of equipment you're going to use, okay, to be as safe as possible. But yeah, I mean, the outdoor ones can still cause fires, even though a lot of outdoor outlets might be GFI protected. Some older ones might not be. But again, people are running extension cords, either through their garage. Some people will run them out. They'll leave them, going through a window. You got people stringing lights and that, and they're, on their gutters, and so. You just got to be smart. It's like pinching, having extension cords pinched. They don't like that either. Creates resistance, creates heat. So it's just, you just got to be smart about it, And just because, and the Cap can attest to this too, is that we'll run into people on a fairly regular basis, and they'll always, spending time in fire prevention, they always say the same thing. It's been like this for 15 years, and nothing's ever happened, I mean, that's one of our favorite.
That it is.
That's one of our favorite. Yeah, nothing's ever happened. Well, look at all these people that have had fires. They probably all said the same thing. Nothing's ever happened, but it's actually. I mean, it's real. I mean that I mean, there's a lot of structure fires in Massachusetts, and obviously you can attest to the amount of fatalities. And when you have a fire in your home, you have a lot of, if you want to escape from that, you have a lot of things have to go right for you when you have a very, very short amount of time. You have a house full of smoke. You might only have 4 or 5 good breaths before you're rendered unconscious, depending on this, what's in that smoke, how intense it is. So it's real. That's why, don't be taking batteries out of your smoke detectors to put in your kids' toys. All I needed the battery for something, so we took it out of the smoke detector.
Yeah, I'll put it back.
I'll get one. That's a big thing, and I'm banned from cooking in my house, fortunately, because of smoke detectors. It seems like I struggle to make toast sometimes, but and we all have people that are going to be cooking a lot over the the holiday season. So what do? The first thing, you take the smoke detector down.
Yep.
And just remember to put that thing back up, because if it's outside your bedroom or if it's at the bottom of the stairs, that's what's gonna save your life if you do have a fire.
Now, these tips may seem to be routine, but based on what both of you gentlemen have seen in your careers, they really still apply. People have to pay attention and not be negligent and take the appropriate steps. I know, Sean, this is what you stress every stop you make.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
That's the whole point of our office, too, is to really kind of educate the public. And if they have questions, we're there to answer them, to us, it may seem common sense or elementary, but to others, it's not, and we can't stress enough to take these things seriously, and don't take the batteries out of your smoke detectors. Clean your chimneys. Don't put stuff all over your space heater. Keep things, neat and orderly as far as your electrical safety stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I know, Chief Kruger, you wanted to say something about chimneys when we talked initially over the phone.
I do, yes.
This may seem like a problem for the suburbs, but in an urban community, you still see
Right.
these chimney situations.
Right, especially the holidays. Everybody wants to light a fire in their fireplace. It is great to do that. We all like that. But one thing you have with a fireplace, just like, and of course it has a flue, it has a chimney, you have to take care of that. You have to clean that. That flue has to be cleaned because it builds up what's called creosote, which is the byproduct, another byproduct of combustion. And that is flammable, and it will cause you to have chimney fires, and chimney fires can be, devastating. You have a fire that starts in the attic, and which is which does happen fairly regularly. Then, we have to get up into that attic, which means you probably have to cut a hole in your roof. We have to get up there and put that out, and that, you have water damage. So you have to make sure you clean your fireplace. You have to make sure that you're burning the right, wood. You're burning cut, seasoned firewood. You're not burning green wood. You're not burning debris, construction debris, wood, or whatever. You're burning, seasoned, dry, fire, hardwood that's been, and I've talked to a few chimney sweeps about, what they feel is a good time to be seasoned wood, and they said at least 8 months. So some people have different opinions on that, I'm sure, but you want to make sure you're burning clean, dry, seasoned hardwood. And I'll just read you a statement from the Marshal's office real quick. In 2017, there were 524 fire incidents involving chimneys, fireplaces, and wood stoves. These fires were responsible for 6 civilian fire fatalities, 4 civilian injuries, and 1 fire service fatality, and 11 firefighter injuries. They resulted in $2.9 million in property loss, and they comprised 37% of all fires linked to heating systems. So that's a sizable amount of fires related to wood stoves, chimneys, and fireplaces.
Good information. Good stuff to remember. My guests have been District Chief Scott Kruger and Captain Sean Civil, the head of the Fire Prevention Bureau in New Bedford. Thank you both for coming in, and hopefully we'll have a safer Christmas season in New Bedford and surrounding communities in 2018. Thanks again.
Thank you. Hope everybody has a great holiday.
Townsquare Sunday returns in just one moment.